legislation called the Smooth-Harley Act, which brought global commerce almost to a screeching halt, down 90%. They finally shot that in 1937. And then the other big mistake was the Federal Reserve, which was created in 1913 to even out the bumps and grinds and capitalists, blah, 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 allowed the Bank of the United States to fail in New York City, and 250,000 people, there's no FDIC then, lost everything. No money for lunch, no checking, no nothing, done. And hundreds of banks failed after that, and they were singing Kumbaya on the beach. Well, we will not do this, and we'll let the weak fail, da, da, da. Wonderful. And you know when the Depression ended? In 1928. What happened in 1928? FDR finally, after the Hoover Dam, and WPA, and Public Works, and stimulus, da, 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 shot Mark-to-Market in the head. And then we got well real fast. Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, there's a bill that's being debated on the House floor, H.R. 607, to shoot it. And if they don't shoot it, then you should write, scream, and yell until they do shoot it, because that's the key ingredient for us to get well. And it matters to all, not just stock market investors. It matters to borrowers, to municipalities, to everybody. And when you stop the wheels, you got problems. I'm an optimist. I think they will change the wheels. More history lessons. You know, in the long run, stocks for the long run, invest for the long term, think long term, bravo. But when there's a paradigm change, you have to be wide awake and see the tendencies before it engulfs you. This last little 10-year period, which is extraordinary, and most of the world-class advisors out there would have you buy and hold throughout this entire bloody thing. You doubled your nothing during that time period. We're back to 1997 levels, which means for every dollar you invested in 1997, you're lucky if you still have it. Ugly, ugly, ugly. Buy and hold is dead. And then the other thing, look at that dramatic collapse on the right-hand side of it. Shows what happened as our leaders fiddled. We had Bear Stearns go boing, and then Lehman Brothers. Well, you know, we have to teach somebody a lesson. Maybe Hank Paulson had too much money at Goldman Sachs and want to kill some competitors, I don't know, but we should investigate that. And they let Lehman Brothers go kaput. And the legislators, again, because markets are dynamic, greed makes we're great innovators because of that, animal spirits. I want to make more. And they forget about risk. So we have things like CDOs and derivatives and all these other instruments that there's not an authority in Washington that understands what the hell they are. There's not a reporting agency in the world that marks it anywhere. Where did it say on AIG's balance sheets that they had $1 trillion in this funny stuff out there? Nowhere. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to have an exchange real soon that the notional value of all these varmints will be posted and listed just like the CBOE, and that's also part of the process of getting well. Now, back to history. This has happened before, and it is not a time to be glum and hide under the bed or suck thy thumb in the fetal position. It's a time to use your brain. It's a time to lead. It's a time to make the right decisions, and it's a bloody opportunity to get filthy, fabulously rich. Now, it's not the time to shun risk and hide and go by, what was the 5-year treasury today, 1.8% fully taxable? Oh, or the 30-year at 3. You'll have your undergarments ripped off in public if you buy the 30-year at this point. You sell 30-year bonds, you don't buy them. But anyway, you look at the big contractions of the past. The nastiest, ugliest one is on the, goes straight down all the way. That was the Great Depression. And hopefully that as the word goes out, there's no reason to re-experience that. And hopefully, because we're now at that crisis point where markets have contracted 50%, and that's when leaders usually get amused and aroused to take action. And in the previous, even in 1973-74, which was the most challenging period in American history, ex the Civil War, we stopped it, arrested it, and turned. And the dot-com thing was child's play compared to this. Where we are now, it's not as bad as the big one. And it's somewhere as a blend between the 73-74 mess and now. And I think that we're very close to seeing this thing turn. There's huge money to the rescue. We'll go back and we'll study some behavioral things with the crash of 1987. Again, greed ruled the day, and everybody had thrown their caution to the wind. Their brain turned to yogurt because they were so excited about the hellacious tidal waves of money that we were all making then. And one day the music stopped. And the music stopped, and again, most people don't remember the crash of '87. What was the catalyst? Ronald Reagan was president, and we were exercising in the Straits of Hormuz freedom of navigation. And American warships were escorting Kuwaiti tankers, those big fat things, and putting a flag on it and running them up because the Iranians had built gun platforms. The Straits of Hormuz is 2.2 miles wide. And they put big guns on them, and that could choke off a whole bunch of oil moving to those that need it, like us. I hope history shows someday that Americans are really smart. We knew that oil was going to $200 a barrel, so we drank theirs first and saved ours, and then did something with nuclear energy, but I like dreaming. So Reagan was not going to allow that to happen, be choked, threatened. So we sent our boys in with the Tomcats, a whole 9 yards, and those stupid Iranians one morning, the Friday before the crash on Black Monday, locked on one of our birds, and all hell broke loose. And again, everybody forgets this. There was a fierce 8-hour battle, and at the end, there were no more platforms, no more Iranian Navy, all gone, sunk, done. And what happened? The world went, oh no, another Arab oil embargo, because they remember the beating of 73, 74, and markets just absolutely collapsed. It was a 28% decline in one day on Black Monday, 52% in a mere 48 days. Talk about ugly. And it was just incredible. And those that lost their mind and out of fear and hid under the bed looked like dopes for a long time after that. And you had guys like the Very Honorable Mayor Koch that was on TV that Sunday. I want to shoot him that day. And he goes, you know the punch is coming. You know the big depression's coming. They used that D word like it was going out of stop. And what happened? This little chart shows that the Fed did learn from something about the 30s, and they provided tremendous hellish stimulus, and there's a whole bunch of things that went on. We did the right thing. And 2 years later, as evidence on this chart, we made it all back. And there was not a depression. There's a mild recession. And the other interesting thing, if you were to look at this thing for linear for the next 8 years, you would see that the 1620 bottom that day on Black Monday was the low. The market went to 8,000 without so much as a 10% correction after that. When you see extremes in behavior like right now, typically what happens, that's when everybody wants to come to Jesus and throws everything out the window. The target-rich environment that's in front of you is there for the taking. The risk has been beaten out of this thing, totally. But we have the fear that it might go lower. So what if it goes 5%?